So the string methods that I'm going to introduce you to this time have to do with manipulating strings in more advanced ways. For example, string.split, okay? String.split, now we know optional parameters, right? Cool. We know how those work. We have parameters where the arguments are optional for both of them, a separator and a max split. It looks like this. So I start out with the original string dot split, and then I can tell it optionally what character to use to separate and how many times to split that string. So if we have a string like this that says welcome to the jungle with spaces in between it, and I call split on that string, it will actually split on the space because the default separator for split is a space. I know it's a little tiny, so I'm going to actually give you a code demo here. Welcome to Bakersfield College. Okay, so if I have a string like that, and I want to break it up into individual words, Python doesn't understand words, but the nice thing about this is that in English, when I'm typing sentences, I put spaces in between my words. And that's why the default character for string.split is a space. So if I say li words equals strtext.split with no parameters, and then I print li words, what I get is a list containing the individual words. Okay, so now I can do things to each word, or I can break up that even further. Now, if I want to, I don't have to use a space as the character that I split on. I could use, let's say, the letter L instead. So if I give that as the optional parameter for the split character, now instead of splitting this on the space, I'm going to split this string everywhere there is a letter L. So now I get this. Notice, you may not have noticed this before, but you'll notice it now. The resulting list doesn't have L in it. So when I split on a character, it gets rid of it. It goes away. It kind of just uses it as a breaking point. So I can split on any character I want. I can also, if I want to, I can name the parameter for max split. And let's say I just want to split it once at the first space that it encounters. So I say max split equals 1. Now when I print that, it will break that sentence at the first space. Again, notice that that first space goes away. It's not part of this string, it's not part of this string. It's gone. But that's where it chopped that string in half. And so if I want to, I can provide the character that I want to use and max split. Or if I have both of them, since they'll just go in order, I could just do this. And it will split at the first O. If I have a number here that's higher than the number of those characters in that string, no worries, it'll just split however many it has. It'll split the first 9, but there's not 9 there. There's only 1, 2, 3 O's, right? Here, here, and here. So split is really useful because now I can count how many words. How can I do that? Let's just do this. If I do strtext.split, and then I say length of that list, so now I can count how many words are in a piece of text by splitting on the space bar and then counting the number of words. So These are all really kind of simple operations, but if I use them together, I can use them to find out different things about my text. Okay, so that's string.split. Let's look at another one. String.join is kind of the opposite or the inverse of split. String.join takes a collection. It could be a list, a tuple, it could be almost anything, any kind of collection. And it turns them into a single string by gluing them together with a certain kind of, with a string that you give it. So, in other words, I have welcome to Bakersfield College, print li words. Now, if I want to glue that back together, and let's say instead, let's say I want to turn that string into a variable name. And I know I can't have spaces in a variable name, right? I can do this instead. And let's say I want to make them underscore characters instead of, I'm going to see if I can get that to ignore that. Oh, well. I'm going to say that dot join, and then I'm going to say li words. And since that's going to return something, I have to put it into a variable. But then if I print that out, right, what I get is this new thing. Obviously that's a terrible variable name. It's way too long. It doesn't really mean anything, whatever. But it's legal. It's a legal variable name because it doesn't have spaces in it anymore, and I'm using the underscore character instead. So I took the spaces out, and then I glued it back together as a string using this character. Now, I want you to pay close attention because string.join is a string method. So you give it the string that you want to use as the glue first. So you're using this as the glue, and then you're joining this together. So you give that, the list or the collection is the argument there, and the string that you're using to join it is this. And I could use anything I want. It doesn't have to be a single character. Okay? But that just, whatever that string is, becomes the glue for gluing things together. Using find on a string, it will search for whatever I give it as the argument, and what it returns is the index of wherever that starts in the string. For example, if I wanted to find out where in the string I have a capital B, let's use that again. I'm going to say strtext.find capital B, and I'm just going to print that out directly. If I print that, it tells me 11, which is, if I go back to this, oh, well, that's not the right string. I was going to show you on there, but I forgot that was a different one. We'll just count old school, right? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. It's the 12th character over, which means the index is 11. Okay? Now, I can search for a single character, or I can search for a whole word, like field. And what it gives me, if I'm searching for field like this, is it gives me the index of the first character of that match. So I can find out where that position is. And that's useful because there are things that I can do with that information, which I'll show you in a minute. Length, we already talked about. Length will tell you how many characters are in a string or how many items are in a list. And it just returns whatever you put in there, it's going to return the total length. So if I say len, and notice length is a Python function, so it's a native function. It's not a string method. So you don't put the string dot len. You put length and then the string or the argument or the list is an argument. Okay, so that's a 30 character string. Count is often confused with length, but remember, count will take a collection and tell you how many times a specific item appears in a collection. Now, if I want to find out how many times text.count, the letter O appears in there, I can do that too. What's that? That one actually split on the letter O. This one tells you how many times it appears. Yeah. And it doesn't have to be just a single letter, right? It could be how many times does the sequence OL appear? Well, that only appears once right here, right? So I could find that out.